So a couple of weeks ago, Dehancer reached out to me to review their product. So what is Dehancer? Dehancer specifically asked me to give an honest review. I'm not a professional colorist. My whole process is a combination of things I learned experimenting and seeing other people's processes on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and the like. Ever since I was younger, the color of film, especially in movies, always stood out to me. I didn't really know which was film and which was digital until I grew older. And I just realized that a lot of the films that I enjoyed as a kid were all shot with film. Film always stood out to me because of how rich and dense the colors are and how just natural and vibrant the skin colors usually are. I haven't been a professional filmmaker in a long time, and so starting out, I've always invested in my skills in color grading because that's what I believed will make my DSLR mirrorless cameras look more cinematic, more high budget than they actually are. But sometimes when I'm in a rush and I don't have the time to take my time, I like having something that's easy, convenient, fast, and also very customizable. And that's where Dehancer comes in for me. And I will show you my process and I will review Dehancer along the way. I like to start off by converting my log footage into Rec. 709, and since DaVinci still doesn't have F-Log2 color profile in their space transform, I use Phantom LUTs to convert my log footage to Rec. 709. And Dehancer has their own conversion system, but I personally don't like how the tone curve looks. After the conversion LUT, I pop in my Dehancer, and in here you have an option to choose what brand of camera you use, what model of the camera, and what picture profile you use, so you can be very specific and it will convert it to Rec. 709 and then apply the film stock. Then right after that, we'll go to the film drop-down menu, and if you click down on it, you get a lot of options for different film stocks that you can use, and I personally love using Kodak Vision 3500D or 50D for most of my shots. After I choose which stock to use, I go over the print section down below. This allows you to choose what type of film print you'd like to emulate, and I have no experiences with film, so a lot of this I kind of go by eye, and what I end up using the most is the Kodak 2383 print, and that kind of usually works most of the time. And in here you can change the exposure, the contrast, color density, and if you click over on analog range limiter, you can decrease the contrast that the film print originally gives you. And to gloss over some of the features I only use depending on the shot, Film Developer I believe is similar as to how the contrast slider works on the primaries tab, and gamma correction is like pivot. Color boost is basically the saturation slider or the color boost slider that DaVinci has. Film compression, if you enable it, compresses the highlights in your footage to avoid blowing up the whites. I enable this quite often because it makes the highlight roll off very smooth, very pleasing to look at. The expand tab you use to control where your blacks and whites sit in your waveform if you like crushing the darker areas or blowing out the highlights. This is where you go, film grain. This is one of Dehancer's strongest features in my opinion. The way the grain is generated feels so organic, but it doesn't feel like a pattern that's being played on loop like most film grain plugins do. You can also choose what type of grain you'd like to use from Super 8 all over to 65mm. In here you can also add halation, and if you don't know what halation is like the red glow that most film stocks have over the brightest areas of the image. I honestly don't like the halation being too noticed or distracting. In most cases, halation is only meant to be felt, only in extreme cases should it be noticed. The bloom option is also nice if you want to emulate the kind of dreamy pro mist effect. It's a situational feature for sure, but still very good. It doesn't blow up the highlights, which is nice, unlike the glow effect of DaVinci. Film damage, you get those little scratches, which to me is a bit distracting, or maybe with Dehancer's film damage, it's a bit distracting, so I almost never use it. I think that's one of the plugin's weak points. Film breath, you enable it and your footage kind of fluctuates from brighter and darker, and gate weave introduces this kind of micro jitter that you see in most old film stocks, which is also a nice effect that I use every now and then. I like Dehancer's built-in gate weave. I use that a lot since the micro jitter feels very organic. It feels very filmic, and I don't know how else to describe it. And it's also hard to do manually from DaVinci's built-in plugin, so that's what I use most of the time. Overscan is a nice stylish effect which basically adds those overlays that you used to just download off of YouTube or whatever. But this is very convenient, as you can like blur it out, remove the little box thingy. It's very customizable, which is very nice. Then in my process, if I need any more adjustments that isn't in Dehancer, I create a node right after it, and usually what I do is just increase the saturation a little bit, as I have noticed that Dehancer's base colors are a bit too desaturated for my own liking. And if I like to adjust my exposure or contrast before the conversion LUT and Dehancer is applied, I create a node before those two with curves, and then I turn on editable spines and adjust it from there. So in summary, Dehancer's pros are it's convenient and fast, has a lot of features that are almost all extremely useful, 90%. It has a lot of film stocks to choose from, so even if you have the most distinct taste when it comes to your style, I'm sure you'll be able to find something that can appease to your liking. And number 4, there's a lot of ways to customize your look, especially in DaVinci. With everything built in, it's kind of like your own playing ground almost. And for its cons, it's the film simulations are not extremely accurate to what they are, but they're still very, very good. Number 2, I don't like the conversion to Rec. 709 that's built into Dehancer. And 3 and 4, which are a bit nitpicky, but it's a bit desaturated off of the rep. And number 4, you have to do a lot of toning down because some of the built-in effects or presets they're too extreme. Overall, Dehancer gets an 8 out of 10 for me. If you also don't know, Dehancer has a phone application which you can do a lot of the things that you can do on the PC version, but with your phone photos and videos as well. So if you want to get 10% off of Dehancer, you can use code JDA. Also check out and stream Dilaw music video by Maki. I directed that, I colored that, I edited that, and peace out.